Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra's Fury, letting his gaze drift through the massive viewport. Stars stretched across the black expanse, distant fires shining like promises the human race had been denied. The year was 2387, and for more than 2 centuries, humanity had been trapped in the Sol system, confined under the iron blockade of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. No human ship could leave without being annihilated. Entire vessels had vanished in moments, consumed by alien fire before anyone on Earth even knew what had happened. And yet, here he was, standing on the bridge of humanity's ultimate answer, a warship so vast it dwarfed every cruiser in the system. Terra's Fury stretched over 3 miles from bow to stern, armed with weapons engineers claimed could punch through mountains as if they were made of paper. Every component of the ship had been smuggled out of Earth's shipyards piece by piece, hidden within the shadow of the asteroid belt, beyond alien sensors and scrutiny. For 15 years, humanity had built its hope in silence. The bridge doors hissed open, and Admiral Lisa Kane entered, her stride quick and purposeful. She carried the weight of command, her face always serious, yet today there was something sharper in her eyes, fear, maybe anger, or both. A data pad clutched in her hand gleamed under the bridge lights, knuckles white from tension. "Captain Morrison," she said, stopping beside his chair. "We've received a message from the Zephyrian High Command. One final ultimatum." Jake turned slowly, folding his arms. "What do they want this time?" Lisa activated the pad, and a holographic figure flickered into being, Supreme Commander Vexthal. Gray, leathery skin stretched over a face framed by 4 unblinking yellow eyes. Its voice was metallic, grinding as it spoke, a sound that seemed to echo through bone as much as air. "Humans of the Sol system," it began. "Your species has existed under our protection for 2 centuries. We have permitted your growth, your survival, within this corner of space. But your recent military expansion has not gone unnoticed. Surrender all military vessels. Dismantle your defense systems. 48 Earth hours. Compliance or annihilation. This is your final warning." The image vanished, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake could hear the hum of the engines, the soft beeping of the monitors, the quiet pulse of a warship poised on the edge of history. Outside, smaller human ships threaded between asteroids, fragile compared to Terra's Fury, yet emblematic of humanity's resolve. "How many ships do they have?" he asked, eyes still on the stars. Lisa's voice was steady. "Our long-range sensors show 300 vessels. The flagship, Eternal Dominion, leads them. Intelligence estimates enough firepower to sterilize planets." Jake approached the tactical display, its grid of red and blue lights marking alien and human forces. 50 combat-ready human ships against 300 enemies. Against an empire that controlled half the galaxy. A voice called from engineering. "Quantum drive ready for full operation, sir," Sam Rodriguez reported. Green lights danced across his station. "We can move faster, strike harder than anything they've ever seen." Sam had designed most of Terra's Fury's weapons, using stolen Zephyrian tech scavenged from crash sites over decades. Plasma cannons that could melt steel in seconds, kinetic bombardment systems hurling projectiles at near-light speeds. Weapons meant to shatter planets, and yet, all that firepower could be meaningless if humanity was outnumbered 6-1. Amy Collins, coordinating the ship's weapons, spoke from tactical. "Captain, the crew is ready. Every department reports full operational status." Jake looked around the bridge at the officers who had volunteered for this mission, knowing the odds were slim. They had come because someone had to make a stand, because someone had to show the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into slavery. "Open a channel to all human vessels and stations," he ordered. "Channel open, sir," Amy replied. Jake took a deep breath, letting the words flow through the comms like a spark in the void. "This is Captain Morrison aboard Terra's Fury. You've heard the ultimatum. The aliens demand surrender. They want our ships. They want our freedom. But I have a different idea. 200 years ago, they trapped us in this system, calling us dangerous, unpredictable, violent. Perhaps they were right. But in 48 hours, the Zephyrian fleet will arrive expecting submission. They will find instead Terra's fury. They will learn why they feared humanity in the first place. The message ended, and Jake returned to his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew continued their final preparations. Sam ran last-minute weapon diagnostics, Amy checked targeting arrays, and outside, the fragile blue jewel of Earth spun quietly in the darkness, unaware of the storm bearing down on it. He thought of his daughter, Sarah, studying engineering on Mars. Her last message before departure told him how proud she was, proud that her father would stand for humanity's freedom. That message now rested in his personal files, a reminder of why this battle mattered beyond strategy or survival. The 48 hours passed in a disorienting blur. Jake barely slept, eyes flicking between sensor readouts as the Zephyrian fleet approached. 300 alien warships moved with perfect coordination, led by the monstrous Eternal Dominion. Each vessel a predator, perfected over centuries. The Zephyrian Empire had never lost a major battle. Never. Until now. Jake's watch ticked past the ultimatum deadline. 6 minutes over. Humanity had not responded. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship," Amy said. "Put it on screen," Jake commanded. The main viewport flickered, showing the interior of the Zephyrian bridge. Vexthal's 4 yellow eyes fixed on him with unnerving clarity. "Your time has expired. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be annihilated." The transmission ended. Jake looked around. Every officer's eyes held the same mixture of fear and determination. Outside, human ships were already moving into defensive formations around Earth and Mars, fragile against the approaching swarm. "Open a channel to all human forces," he ordered. "Channel open, sir," Amy replied. Jake spoke, calm but unwavering. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. The enemy fleet has arrived. You volunteered knowing we might not survive. But this is not just for us. This is for every human child who dreams of reaching the stars. Terra's fury leads the attack. Follow our lead. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when it tries to cage humanity." Amy and Diana Peters plotted a course from behind Jupiter's radiation shadow. It was the only way to mask their approach until the last possible moment. Within minutes, the Dreadnought moved like a phantom across the void, stars stretching into lines as the quantum drive pushed the ship beyond known speeds. The Zephyrian fleet loomed ahead, a wall of death, formation precise, deadly. Red dots crowded the tactical display, yet Jake felt the familiar thrill of inevitability. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. And now, Terra's fury would show the galaxy what humans were capable of, not just survival, but defiance. 30 seconds to weapons range. Amy's voice was calm. "All systems ready." Jake gripped the arms of his chair, a quiet smile touching his face. History was about to change, and the first shot would not just be for Earth. It would be for humanity itself. The stars outside Terra's fury blurred into lines as the quantum drive pushed the Dreadnought forward. Every officer on the bridge held their breath, the weight of centuries pressing down on them like gravity itself. Ahead, the Zephyrian fleet loomed, 300 warships moving with a precision that suggested perfection, each vessel a predator, each weapon a sentence. For over 200 years, humanity had lived in the shadow of these killers. And now, the hunter would become the hunted. Amy Collins's voice cut through the tense silence. 30 seconds to weapons range. All forward plasma cannons ready. Targeting arrays locked. Jake Morrison's hands gripped the command chair as he let the moment stretch, the final heartbeat before action, before humanity carved its defiance into the galaxy. "Fire," he commanded. The bridge trembled as 6 plasma cannons discharged simultaneously, beams of superheated energy stretching across the void. They struck 3 of the Xaperian cruisers before their shields could even respond. The first disintegrated in a white-hot blossom of destruction. The second's hull split, tearing apart like paper in the wind. The third flailed, emergency system sparking, before it too succumbed to the human onslaught. For a few seconds, silence followed. Then the bridge erupted with astonished murmurs. Humanity had done the impossible, they had hurt the unassailable empire. But the shock was fleeting. The Xaperian fleet began to respond, unleashing a torrent of fire that lit the darkness with violent brilliance. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked like comets, and small asteroids were vaporized by the sheer intensity of the attack. Yet Terra's fury held. Its shields, designed to adapt to every energy frequency within seconds, absorbed each strike and strengthened, like a living entity learning its enemy. Diana Peters called from navigation. "Sir, they're scanning us. They know we're here." Jake leaned over the tactical display. Red dots shifted, the alien ships turning toward Terra's fury. Their gunners worked furiously, but the Dreadnought's sheer size, unusual design, and adaptive shields confused their targeting computers. They had never seen a human vessel like this. Humanity had spent decades studying captured Xaperian technology, anticipating every possible weapon. The Empire had dismissed them as primitive, and that arrogance would be its undoing. "Amy, target the enemy command ship with the kinetic bombardment system," Jake ordered. The kinetic system was Terra's Fury's secret weapon. Tiny projectiles accelerated to near-light speeds, delivering energy comparable to nuclear detonations, without the telltale radiation signature that might alert the enemy. Amy's fingers flew over the controls. Projectile loaded. Acceleration maximum. Jake's voice was calm but charged with the weight of history. Fire. The projectile shot forward, invisible to the naked eye, striking the flagship's forward section. Shockwaves reverberated through the alien hull, knocking out half of its weapons instantly. Supreme Commander Vexthal was thrown off balance, lights flickering on his bridge as damage reports flooded in. His empire, flawless for a millennium, was reeling. "All ships, concentrate fire on Terra's Fury," Vexthal barked. But as his forces focused, other human ships emerged from hiding, destroyers behind the moon, cruisers from the asteroid belt, attacking from angles the aliens could not predict. Human tactics were chaotic, unpredictable, like a storm rather than a formation. The Xaperian fleet, conditioned to rigid order, struggled to respond. "Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command," Amy reported. Dr. Helen Martinez appeared, her excitement palpable. "Sensors show weak points in their formations. Concentrated attacks on their shields are breaking their formation. I'm sending targeting data directly." Jake nodded, absorbing the information. Humanity had studied every Xaperian weapon, every pattern, every predictable flaw. Now it was being applied. "Amy, target the nearest battleship's shield generators." "Sam, full power to the plasma cannons," he ordered. The next salvo struck with precision. Shields failed where they were weakest. The hull cracked, secondary explosions tore through the vessel, and the once perfect formation of the Xaperian fleet began to splinter. Commander Steve Baker's destroyers and Captain Linda Ross's cruisers pressed the advantage, their hit-and-run maneuvers exploiting every weakness, every hesitation. From the bridge of Terra's Fury, Jake watched as human ingenuity and tactical brilliance met centuries of alien arrogance. The once unshakable Xaperian fleet began to retreat. For the first time in a 1,000-year history, the Empire faced defeat. 3 enemy cruisers attempting to ram us, Diana reported. The ships had lost their weapons but still carried enough mass and velocity to damage Terra's Fury. Jake issued evasive maneuvers over the ship's comms. The Dreadnought danced through space, avoiding collisions, guiding its mass through a gauntlet of destruction. The enemy ships collided with one another, explosions lighting the darkness like fireworks over a doomed civilization. Vexthal's 4 yellow eyes burned with disbelief. His 1,000-ship armada was now fractured, scattered, and panicked. Requests for withdrawal flooded in. 17 ships begged permission to retreat. His first major defeat in over a millennium had arrived. Jake paused as more surrender requests came in. Part of him wanted to annihilate every remaining alien ship, a final vengeance for centuries of oppression. But another part recognized the power of restraint. Mercy, in this case, was a message. Humanity was not the Empire. It did not oppress. It liberated. Grant them safe passage, he decided. But make it clear. Any ship returning to Sol will be destroyed without warning. Admiral Lisa Kane's voice came over comms. Captain Morrison, clearance to pursue retreating forces beyond the system. Humanity is finally free to leave Sol space. Jake felt a surge of emotion he had not known in years. The blockade that had imprisoned his species for generations was shattered. Human ships could now explore the galaxy, interact with other species, and assert their presence among the stars. Diana, plot a course for the Kepler system, he ordered. It is time to announce humanity's arrival to the galaxy. Within hours, Terra's Fury's fleet arrived at Kepler, only to find rebellion in motion. Enslaved species had seized control of orbital defense platforms. Zafran forces, outnumbered and overpowered, fought with desperation against both human and rebel fleets. Captain Linda Ross led her cruisers against alien patrols, while Commander Steve Baker's destroyers provided tactical support for liberated forces. Grace Williams, once a slave, now humanity's liaison to galactic resistance movements, stood at the diplomatic station. Captain Morrison, rebel leaders request a meeting. They want to form an alliance with humanity against the Empire. Jake nodded, understanding the weight of this opportunity. Strategic alliances would be essential. The Zafran Empire still had thousands of ships, countless worlds. Humanity alone could not face them all. Together with the oppressed, however, they could shift the balance of power across the galaxy. Amy relayed a message to the rebel fleet. Tell them I will meet their leaders aboard Terra's Fury in 1 hour. By nightfall, the remaining Zafran forces at Kepler either surrendered or fled. Human and rebel ships secured orbital stations and liberated surface colonies. Intelligence from Tony Garcia revealed a larger pattern. The Empire was retreating to defend its core systems, leaving outer colonies to their fate. For the first time, humanity was not just surviving. It was liberating, shaping the galaxy, and proving that a species once confined to a single star system could now challenge an empire. 6 months later, the fleet approached the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. 300 human warships sailed alongside vessels crewed by liberated species, moving toward Zephyro Prime, the imperial homeworld. Emperor Zixthan's remaining forces, more than 800 vessels, waited in defensive formation. Amy Collins reported from her station. Sensors show the World Ender Fortress in orbit. Enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Shields nearly impenetrable. Jake studied the tactical display, knowing the next confrontation would decide the fate of billions. He looked at his officers, every one of them chosen for courage, ingenuity, and resolve. Prepare all weapons. Today, we face the last stronghold of an empire that has enslaved countless worlds. We fight for every species that dreams of freedom. The Dreadnought's engines roared as it moved forward, leading the fleet into the shadow of the Empire. Energy flares from alien batteries lit space, a final warning, a final challenge. Humanity had come this far. And now, it would either break the chains or be shattered by them. The void ahead was filled with the glare of Zephyro Prime's defenses. The World Ender Fortress loomed like a metal mountain suspended in space, its weapon arrays capable of erasing planets, its shields nearly impregnable. 800 alien vessels formed a protective halo, their formations rigid, precise, and confident. For centuries, the Zephyrian Empire had crushed every rebellion with such displays of power. But humanity had never fought merely to survive. They fought to redefine the balance of the galaxy itself. Jake Morrison stood at the bridge of Terra's fury, his hands resting lightly on the console. His mind ran over every variable, every tactical possibility. Every crew member aboard had placed their trust in him, and he would not fail them. Sam, prepare all weapon systems for maximum output. Amy, target their fleet and focus on shield generators first. The Dreadnought's quantum drive hummed with potential energy, coiled like a predator ready to strike. Behind them, the human fleet aligned, every vessel a testament to ingenuity, courage, and resolve. The liberated species crews moved with a fury born of centuries of oppression. Every strike they delivered was a declaration that the galaxy would no longer kneel. On the world ender, Emperor Zixton's yellow eyes glowed with barely contained fury. Human filth, he hissed to his war council. You dare to threaten my dominion. You bring destruction and chaos across my empire. Crush them. End them. Leave nothing alive. Jake's voice cut across the comms, calm but resolute. All vessels, this is Captain Morrison. Today, we confront the last stronghold of an empire that has enslaved countless worlds. Each of you carries the hopes of billions, not only humans, but every species yearning for freedom. We fight not for conquest, but for liberation. Follow our lead. Strike with precision. Protect one another. And above all, never forget why we fight. Amy Collins's fingers danced over the targeting arrays. Weapons ready. Shields at maximum adaptive mode. Targeting arrays locked on power conduits to the world ender. All smaller vessels coordinated for simultaneous strikes. Jake nodded. This was the moment. He allowed himself a brief glance at the stars, distant suns, untouched by empire or war, waiting for humanity to reach them. Then, with a deep breath, he gave the order, engage. Terra's fury surged forward, the quantum drive pushing the massive ship beyond its design limits. The world around them became a blur of light and motion, alien weapons firing in futile arcs as the Dreadnought closed in. Energy beams from the world ender exploded against the void, but none could lock onto the moving target. Humanity had learned to fight differently, fast, chaotic, adaptive. Predictable formations were no match for the improvisational genius of those who had once been confined to a single star system. Amy's voice was steady. We're inside their perimeter. Shields holding at 95%. Weapons at full power. The bridge crew watched as Terra's fury became a missile of vengeance, striking the fortress's weak points. Plasma cannons tore through shields that had never faced human design before. Kinetic projectiles penetrated the hull, creating fractures that spread like lightning across the structure. The world ender's weapons flared, trying to retaliate, but the Dreadnought moved faster than any gunners could track. Diana, maintain evasive maneuvers. Keep us clear of debris and structural collapse, Jake ordered. The world ender's corridors twisted below them, massive weapons discharging energy that could have destroyed cities. But each strike glanced off the adaptive shields, leaving Terra's fury intact. On the fortress's bridge, Zixton roared in fury as reports poured in. Shields down on the outer sectors. Hull breaches along the primary conduit lines. Weapon arrays offline. His empire, which had spanned thousands of worlds, was crumbling before a single human dreadnought. Jake didn't pause to gloat. He led a boarding party, Marines at his side, through the fortress's corridors. Alien defenses fired in futile bursts, automated turrets, once terrifying, fell to human ingenuity. Every step forward was a step toward the heart of the Empire. Finally, they reached the command center. Emperor Zixton waited, larger and stronger than any human, a manifestation of a civilization's arrogance. You dare enter my sanctuary, he bellowed, yellow eyes burning with hate. Jake stepped forward, calm but unyielding. I don't just dare, I succeed. Your empire ends today. Not for vengeance, but for freedom. The combat that followed was brutal, a clash of civilizations condensed into a single room. Zixthan's strength was immense, but Jake fought with the weight of his people behind him. Every strike, every maneuver, carried centuries of human endurance, ingenuity, and the unyielding desire to survive. When Zixthan finally fell, silence swept the command center. Weapons systems ceased firing. Alarms faded. The fortress, once an instrument of terror, was inert. Back on the bridge of Terra's Fury, Jake watched the remaining Zephyrian fleet falter. Less than a quarter of the original 800 ships remained in formation. The rest drifted, powerless or surrendered, the might of the Empire humbled by the ingenuity and courage of humanity. "Captain Morrison," Amy said softly, "they're surrendering. Entire fleets requesting safe passage." Jake allowed himself a moment of reflection. The galaxy that had been denied to humanity for centuries was now open. The oppression that had held billions in fear was broken. Every species that had long suffered under Zephyrian rule now had the chance to reclaim its freedom. Messages flooded in across the human and liberated species networks. Planets rising, orbital defenses captured, enslaved populations freed. Humanity's actions had sparked a revolution that no empire, however vast, could contain. 6 months later, Terra's Fury and the human fleet approached Zephyro Prime once more. The Emperor was defeated, the Empire fractured, and the galaxy itself was awakening to the realization that it could never again be subdued by a single tyrant. Jake stood on the bridge, staring out at the capital world below, now free of the Empire's control. The stars beyond whispered promises of discovery, of alliances, of civilizations long hidden, waiting for contact. "Prepare course for Alpha Centauri," he said. "We have a galaxy to explore, and freedom to ensure. Every star system holds a story, and we will be part of them all." Around him, the bridge crew moved with quiet reverence. Sam checked weapon systems one last time, Amy coordinated logistics for liberated species, Diana plotted courses through uncharted space. Humanity was no longer confined. Humanity had become the spark that ignited the galaxy. And Jake, standing in the command chair, realized that for the first time in generations, he wasn't just a captain leading a ship. He was a witness to the rebirth of a species, a participant in the first chapter of a new galactic history. The age of the Zephyrian Empire was over. The age of human exploration, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit had begun. And the galaxy, vast, mysterious, and infinite, awaited.